how Ford is done doing boring. This is great news. You're going to enjoy this show. It's going to sort of paint the future for Ford. I've got some insider information and some also commonly accessible information. Now you can read all about this at Ford Authority. We're going to be pasting together a few of their articles and a bit of my insider information to really give you a good idea of where Ford is going. Howdy, 4 high, 4 low. Thank you everyone for making it to the show. Now, if you're watching this as a secondary episode, you can see what people are saying in the live comment. Very knowledgeable community of auto enthusiasts that we are very lucky to have. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Please consider hitting that thumbs up before we get started, subscribe, and the bell notification so that you don't miss out, because we've got a lot of great information to cover. Live episodes almost every Sunday. Next Sunday, I think I'm gonna have to take it off to finally get some of that Ford Maverick Tremor coverage, because I got one for the weekend last weekend. I might have to take the next weekend off from doing a live to cover that. And that's not a boring vehicle whatsoever. If you have a chance, go down to a dealer, drive a Ford Maverick Tremor, and you're going to see how Ford is done doing boring. But it's going to get more exciting than that. Now remember, Ford has already dropped from the North American market the Fiesta, the Focus. They've dropped the Ford Taurus. They've dropped the Ford Fusion because they're tired of doing boring. So what's next? Well, Ford CEO Farley did say they're done with boring. He talked about how it doesn't pay. Previously, models like the Ford Fiesta and Focus, they weren't models that brought in a lot of profit. They're known to be a little bit more boring. And there's already a specialist. Now, Jim Farley isn't saying this, I'm saying this. There's already been traditionally a specialist when it comes to boring. Toyota does boring very well, but they also are very reliable. Excuse me. Had something stuck in the throat. Hard to get that one out because I have a 1991 Toyota MR2 in the garage. And gosh, I've done everything on that. Dealt with leaky turbos, leaky turbo, lots, ignition issues, still trying to get it running. But generally, Toyota is very, very reliable. They keep their motors, they reuse a lot of their parts, keep their motors around for an extremely long period of time. So of course, if the downside of not being boring means more new products, and that means higher risk of having issues. But Jim Farley in the past has also said that, the quality of the product is going to be the number one focus. So I guess Ford not being boring and coming out with some exciting models is going to be second or third on the list of priorities, but it is a priority, and it does mean that we might, we're going to be saying bye to the Ford Edge. The last ones are going to be getting built in March of 2024, if I recall the correct month, but basically springtime of 2024. This is gone, the Edge here. It's been a very reliable vehicle. It makes for a great used purchase, folks. You need a safe, reliable vehicle to do a ton of mileage on. Buy one, but be careful who you buy one from, because remember, these are vehicles with turbos in them, and if the previous owner wasn't very responsible with his his or her oil changes, and they're just general maintenance, any vehicle is susceptible to being a bad vehicle if it wasn't taken care of properly. So buy new when you can. Check out the history. Ask for a car report, like a Carfax. An accident report will often show you every time that the vehicle went into the dealership. And you want to see that occurring every roughly 8,000 to 12,000 kilometers. So Ford, they're getting rid of the Edge. And they might very well be getting rid of the Ford Escape. Even though the Ford Escape has been a very reliable vehicle, I think the Ford Escape plug-in is one of the best new family vehicles you can buy these days. That's how I feel. And from what I've seen, other than in the past, if you live in a very salty area, I highly recommend that you undercoat your Ford Escape, because the inside of the doors and the inside of the back hatch are known to rust in very salty environments if you don't undercoat the vehicle. But Ford's done with boring, so they've already cut out a whole lot of vehicles: Fiesta, Focus, Fusion, Ford Taurus. They're also going to be bringing along a lot of exciting new vehicles. So that's a part of this story that I'm really excited about. So let's cover that. We've got a few models that are sort of, you could say, known variables. So let's check that out. We're not necessarily going to be getting this as a model you can buy. I'm waiting to hear more information on that, but Ford did come out with this this electric Ford F-150 that is very much Raptor inspired. We call it the switchgear. What Jim Farley has said is that a lot of the racing tech, so they're going to have a lot of one-off racing vehicles. They're going to have vehicles that they're not necessarily going to go racing with as well. They're going to use to inspire and take tech from and bring into your everyday vehicles bought by everyday people. You know, we've seen the rally edition of the Mach-E, for example. You'll see, you know, that race edition with, what was it, 1200 or 1400 horsepower. You've got an electric Transit, which is in over the 1000 horsepower mark as well. Ford's going to use that technology and spread it all over. So that's what Jim Farley was talking about this past week. And this switchgear model is very impressive. Look at that. So they're racing this around. I love seeing that they widened the front arches and back arches and didn't just throw on, you know, wheel well add-ons that are made of plastic. I'm thinking of the Bronco. Would love to see next generation of Bronco to have something like this here, where it's the actual body of the vehicle that sticks out when you throw on wider tires. So Ford's talking about bringing what they learned from these one-off vehicles as well as their race vehicles. Ford's going to be heavy into racing, you know, GT3 racing, GT4 racing. They're going to be bringing this back to models like the Ford F-150s, the Mustangs, the Broncos. We're in for a really exciting ride. And that means the dark horse, which then gets converted into a race vehicle, various race vehicles. Well, the technology from that, they're going to be bringing back to Ford. So very, very cool. We can, you know, see it right here. Ford CEO says racing tech will end up in retail vehicles. So good job, Brett Foote, covering this story January 19th. So you can catch and read about this story. So you see here, Ford Mustang Dark Horse based racers and a partnership with Red Bull Oracle Racing and Formula One will also help to develop future road-going models too. You know, we had the Ford Super Van, we've had the Ford Mustang Super Cobra Jet 1800, we had the Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400. So you've got full-blown race vehicles, tech coming back to us. We've got those one-off prototypes doing wild stuff, showcasing the direction Ford wants to go. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. Not necessarily getting a switchgear, but a Lightning Raptor or Lightning Wildtrak. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very, very possible. So quote from Farley here that kind of really goes to send this point home, and it's a home run, by the way. Quote from Farley, "We want to be in the race car business of selling cars. And what's going to connect to our products? We have a Raptor because we raced at Baja. That is exactly the model. We would not have a Mustang GTD if we weren't going to Le Mans. This is the model for Ford. Our R&D, research and development for future vehicles will be on the racetrack. And you will be able to buy them at Ford. And that is really what the circle is all about in our business of racing." So Farley also said that they're done making boring cars. And the CEO did admit that historically, big profit, the boring vehicles were not big profit generators for the company. You think about it, the Ford Explorer ST is a great example. It's the most expensive Explorer, and it's the model everyone wants. So why chase after the low budget vehicles, which it's hard to make low budget vehicles and also have them be reliable. Unless you sell incredible volume and reuse parts for 20 years. Yes, I'm describing Toyota, interiors that sometimes don't change for 20 years. Little knobs and switches, engines, transmissions, suspensions. Sometimes they're keeping those for over 20 years. Yes, very reliable, but you need to sell a whole lot of them for a really long time if you're chasing the low budget. Now, I would like to see, of course, some low budget vehicles, because things are getting really wild out there. Things are getting very expensive. Inflation has been wild, and slowly losing some freedoms is also a topic that worries me. But on a very positive note, you might not like electric vehicles. Well, this is also going to be exciting news for your gas-powered vehicles. Remember, this is the gas-powered Mustang, folks. But exciting news right here. Borla worked on an exhaust speaker, 2 speakers really, that according to Business Insider is going to be $1,600. Couldn't find it for sale, but it's helps your electric truck or your Mach-E sound like it has a V8 engine, and I mean one heck of a V8 engine. So let's listen in on that. Great sound here. Very cool, folks. Very cool. So they're talking about Borla is likely going to come out early on, like they are with the Mach-E, with 4 preset sounds. Later on, you might be able to customize your own sounds, download new V8 sounds, modify them, play around with them. So really exciting. But as you can tell, that is a great sounding exhaust. And you're going to have the choice of multiple different types of V8 sounds to add to your Mach-E, your electric SUV, or your electric truck. This could really change the game, because one thing that's definitely bothered me about my Lightning is the lack of excitement. It's so quick. It's so unbelievably comfortable. It brakes at hard to believe speeds. It accelerates at hard to believe speeds. But because there's no sound, it's hard to maybe believe, but it lacks a lot of excitement. Sound makes up a lot of the experience. Just like smell when you're eating is the majority of what you taste is actually from your nose. Well, I'd like to say that the majority of the driving experience is from the sound of the vehicle. Remember, people were buying vehicles in the 60s. Some of them, even the really high horsepower models were often very slow compared to today's sports cars. And really, some of them were actually slow compared to today's four-door, family movers. So sound makes a big difference. Sound of those tires squealing, smoke in the back, and sound like we just heard make for exciting vehicles. And we know Ford's been on the right track, because look at this Raptor. Beautiful. Look, they're working out the interiors, giving us bigger touchscreens, better materials on the inside. This isn't a 2004 or 2006 Mustang. Beautiful finishes, mixing materials. Even the Maverick, it's pretty much all plastic on the inside, but they mix colors, they mix shapes to make it an exciting interior despite being a plastic interior. Here, maybe you can't see it, but there's little holes in this headrest because there's a speaker, a Bang & Olufsen speaker in each headrest. Ford's done with boring, and I'm happy, because it makes it that I can say after basically 11 years, I'm definitely not done with Ford. I'm just getting started. I am very excited to be working for Ford, and I think many of you, Ford dealer, I think many of you will enjoy the Ford product. And I have other models of vehicles too. My garage right now has a 1991 Toyota MR2 sitting in it that I've worked on it in the 2000s. Still working on it because it's not starting. Even though I've redone the turbo, all the intercooling system, they've redone the exhaust. So much of that vehicle has been rebuilt. A lot of help from friends and professionals. But I do what I can when I can. But the Ford Raptor, the F-150, the Raptor Bronco, hoping to have a Raptor Ranger, but Ford hasn't scheduled me yet. This week I saw that they've scheduled for early March 2 regular XLTs, but they have not scheduled my Raptor, and I do hope that they will. So Borla exhaust, sound, dual speaker that can be thrown on your Mach-E. That's exciting. It'd be great. Ford, please throw this on. If you make a Ranger Raptor Lightning, throw it on. Make it part of the kit. Do business with Borla. I think that's a good company to be doing business with. Now, we're going to continue the show, and it's only getting better. I really like the topic coming up. We're going to be talking about Bronco wait times, so let's get to that.